One of the things I noticed as I've been studying about the coral reef is that there's some bad things happening to it, and some of it's dying. The next couple pictures show some of the things that are hurting the coral reef and making it harder for animals and plants to live around it. These two pictures show the reef before and after things came and damaged it. There are many things that can hurt the coral reef and cause it to bleach. The first coral you see is a healthy coral, full of color. The second coral on the right is white because all the algae has left it because of damage to the reef. A lot of damage done to the coral reef is by humans. This picture shows a swimmer standing on a coral reef. This can cause the algae to die and leave or break pieces of the coral that animals need to survive. Another way the coral reef is damaged is by pollution. When people dump garbage and chemicals where they don't belong, they can flow down through lakes into the ocean and hurt the animals and the coral growing there. Look at the girl in this picture. She's putting on sunscreen to protect her skin, but the sunblock she's using is going to damage the coral reef. Some of the chemicals in it can cause coral bleaching. The algae doesn't like the chemicals, so it can die and leave the coral reef. It's important to use sunscreen when you're swimming and diving and snorkeling to protect your skin. But we've learned that some of the chemicals in sunscreen can hurt the coral reefs, even if you only use a little. When you're wearing your sunscreen in the water, it can wash off and enter the water, which can hurt the coral reefs. Special sunscreen doesn't have the hurtful chemicals, so it's safe to use in the water. When you go to the store to buy sunscreen, choose one that says it's reef safe and doesn't have the hurtful chemicals. And you can tell other people to do this too. Another thing that's causing damage to our coral reefs is climate change. Climate change happens when people burn fuel and heat for energy, when they make things in factories and produce chemicals, when they raise livestock like cows and pigs and sheep, and putting chemicals on plants to help them grow faster, and cutting down trees. When these things change the climate, it also changes the ocean. The ocean gets warmer, which causes stress for the coral. The water level rises, and storms change. More storms make it harder for the coral to grow. All these changes can cause coral to bleach, for it to get sick, for it to get smothered so it doesn't get enough air or sunlight, and lots of other things that make it harder for the coral to grow and feed the animals that live there. Many people go fishing for food for their families and for themselves, but the coral reefs need the fish too. If we fish too much, there won't be any left to take care of the coral reef. Sometimes nets and other fishing equipment gets left behind. It can hurt the coral reef and make it so animals can't find food there. These pictures show how coral bleaching happens. Number 1 shows healthy coral, with coral and algae depending on each other to survive. Number 2 shows stressed coral. When the coral gets stressed, the algae leaves the coral. Number 3 shows the bleached coral, when the coral is left bleached and vulnerable because the algae has left. Now that you've learned about some of the things that are damaging the reefs, go on Seesaw and make a video telling what you learned. If you're not sure, listen to the video again, or go on Epic and read about the coral reefs.